I never thought I'd be left alone with her. One look, one touch, and everything changed. What started as a simple moment spiraled into something forbidden, irresistible, and irreversible. And in that instant, I realized nothing would ever be the same again. The house was quiet, unusually so, as I dropped my backpack onto the couch. Dad was out on one of his business trips, which usually meant a quiet week of freedom for me. But today, something felt different. I could hear her voice echoing lightly from the kitchen, a smooth, confident tone that made my stomach twist in a way I couldn't name yet. I peeked around the corner and froze. She was standing there, my dad's new girlfriend, moving through the kitchen like she owned the place. She had this effortless elegance, the kind that made it impossible to look away. The way her hair caught the sunlight, the curve of her neck when she tilted her head. It was mesmerizing. I shouldn't have been thinking about her like that. She wasn't supposed to affect me. But somehow, she already had. "I hope you're hungry," she said, without turning around. Her voice playful, like she already knew I was staring. "I made something quick before your dad left." I swallowed, feeling heat creep up my neck. Thanks," I mumbled, forcing myself to sound normal. She turned then, and our eyes met. Something flickered there, an intensity that I couldn't explain. It was like she was looking past me, seeing something raw and unspoken. I quickly looked away, embarrassed. This was my dad's girlfriend. She wasn't supposed to make me feel this. We ate in a slightly awkward silence at first. I tried focusing on the food, but every time she laughed, it hit a strange note inside me. A thrill, tinged with guilt. I couldn't stop stealing glances at her, noticing little things. The way her shirt clung to her, the subtle curve of her collarbone, the soft laugh lines at the corners of her eyes. Everything about her was magnetic. "So, your dad says you're in college," she said casually, leaning back slightly in her chair. "What are you studying?" "Psychology," I replied, trying not to let my nerves show. He mentioned it." Her lips curved into a smile that sent a shiver down my spine. "That's interesting. I've always been fascinated by people. What makes them tick? Don't you think some desires are hard to explain?" I blinked, my fork halfway to my mouth. She was smiling, but there was something provocative in her eyes, like she was testing me, teasing me without even saying anything explicit. My heart started racing. I guess so," I said, my voice quieter than I intended. She laughed softly, the kind of laugh that made my chest tighten. "I like honesty, and you're being honest, aren't you?" Her gaze lingered, and I realized I couldn't look away. My pulse was racing. Something was happening between us, something I shouldn't be feeling. After dinner, she helped me clean up, and every brush of her hand sent sparks through me. I tried to focus on the plates, the silverware, anything to keep from thinking about her, but my mind refused to obey. "Your dad left his schedule on the counter," she said, her voice calm, casual, but my chest tightened at the way she said it, like there was an undertone meant just for me. "He's going to be gone a few days. Just the two of us here." My stomach dropped. A warning bell, but one I couldn't hear over the strange fluttering in my chest. "Yeah, just us," I said, trying to sound normal, but normal felt impossible. We moved to the living room, me curling up on the sofa with a book I wasn't actually reading. She sat across from me, legs crossed, casually sipping her drink. And then it happened. A brush of her foot against mine. Accidental. I couldn't tell, but my body reacted instantly. Heat flooded me, and I tried to pull away, but I didn't. Not really. She caught my gaze and didn't look away. Instead, she smiled softly, almost knowingly. That smile made my stomach drop even more. I had never been alone with a woman like this before. Never someone who made me feel like this, like my entire body was reacting to her presence in a way I didn't understand. I should probably go," I said awkwardly, feeling a blush rise to my cheeks. "You don't have to," she said, leaning back in a way that made her curves noticeable, making it impossible not to look. "It's not like your dad's coming back anytime soon." I opened my mouth, but no words came out. My heart was hammering, my thoughts scattered. I had never felt so simultaneously terrified and drawn to someone. It was wrong, impossible, but it was happening. We spent the rest of the evening in a strange, charged silence, talking just enough to avoid awkwardness but leaving space for the tension to grow. Every laugh, Every glance, every accidental brush of hands seemed to pull us closer together, though I knew we shouldn't be. By the time she finally got up to leave the room, I felt dizzy from the intensity of it all. She paused by the doorway, turning to look at me with a faint, enigmatic smile. I never thought being left alone could be this interesting, she said softly, almost to herself, almost like a warning. I swallowed hard, heart racing. Me neither, I whispered. As the door clicked shut, leaving me alone, I sank back into the sofa. My thoughts were a whirlwind. Curiosity, desire, guilt. I'd never felt like this before. I'd never been alone with a woman who made my heart race this way. And somehow, I knew this was only the beginning. I never thought this would be just the beginning. And I couldn't shake the feeling that nothing between us would ever be the same. The next morning, I woke to sunlight spilling through the curtains, warm and golden. But my thoughts weren't on the day ahead. They were on her. That strange pull, the way she had looked at me last night, replayed over and over in my mind while my dad's girlfriend, and yet, the way she had lingered in my thoughts made my heart race in ways I hadn't expected. I was making coffee in the kitchen when she appeared, leaning casually against the counter, her arms crossed. She looked effortless, like she had just stepped out of a magazine. Her gaze landed on me, and I felt that familiar jolt, the unspoken electricity that seemed to spark whenever we were in the same room. "Morning," she said softly, her voice smooth, low, almost intimate in a way that made my stomach twist. "Morning," I replied, trying to sound normal, though my voice came out a little too high. She smiled faintly, walking past me to grab a mug. Her hand brushed mine, just a fleeting touch, but it left a trail of heat that lingered far longer than it should have. I tried to focus on pouring my coffee, but the warmth of her fingers on mine stayed with me, making it impossible to think straight. "You didn't have to make coffee," she said, watching me. "But I'm glad you did. It's cute." Cute. That single word made my cheeks flush. I wanted to look away, but I found myself drawn into her eyes. There was something in the way she looked at me, something teasing yet tender, that made me feel like I was standing on the edge of something forbidden and thrilling. We moved into the living room with our drinks, and the air between us was thick with tension. Every laugh, every glance, every movement seemed deliberate, charged. I could feel her presence in a way that made my pulse quicken, like a magnetic pull I couldn't resist. "So, do you always get along with your dad's girlfriends?" I asked, trying to make conversation, though my mind was spinning. She chuckled softly, leaning back on the sofa. "Usually? Not really, but there's something about you. Different," I froze, my heart thudding. Different. That one word held a weight I couldn't ignore. It was like she was seeing something in me that no one else did, and it terrified and thrilled me at the same time. We ended up talking for hours, casually at first, about college, classes, and life. But somehow, the conversation veered into more personal territory. She asked about my experiences, my crushes, things I had never admitted to anyone, and with every word I shared, the room seemed to shrink. The distance between us smaller, closer, tighter. At some point, she reached over to just a strand of hair falling over my face. Her fingers lingered just a moment too long, and I felt my cheeks burn. I tried to pull away, but I couldn't. Every fiber of me was aware of her, aware of this connection. "I've never felt like this before," she murmured quietly, almost to herself, almost like a confession. Her eyes searched mine, and in that instant, I understood. She wasn't just playful or teasing, she was curious, drawn to me in ways I had only just begun to comprehend. My pulse raced, and I found myself leaning just slightly closer, drawn to her warmth. I knew it was wrong, impossible, and yet I couldn't fight it. Every instinct had told me to step back, but every emotion screamed to stay, to explore, to surrender just a little to the dangerous, intoxicating energy between us. The hours passed like minutes. At one point, she brushed against my arm accidentally as she reached for her mug. The heat from that touch traveled straight to my chest, leaving a fluttering, desperate ache. I couldn't help the sigh that escaped me, and her smile widened, just a little, knowing. "I never expected to feel this. Intrigued?" she said softly, leaning back, eyes never leaving mine. "With anyone, let alone someone so young. You're not supposed to feel that way about me," I whispered, voice shaky. "Maybe," she replied, her lips twitching in the faintest hint of a smile, "but I do." Time seemed to slow as the unspoken words hung in the air. I felt a mixture of fear, excitement, and guilt swirling inside me, impossible to separate. I'd never been this close to someone, never had this level of forbidden tension crackling between us. And yet, the more I tried to fight it, the more I realized it was only going to get harder. She leaned just a little closer, and I could feel her warmth radiating toward me. My heart pounded, and I caught myself wondering, what would happen if we gave in just a little, if we crossed that invisible line? I shook my head, trying to focus, but it was useless. I was already lost, caught in a web of desire I didn't know how to escape. When the evening came and she moved to the kitchen to grab a snack, I stayed on the sofa, heart still racing. I watched her silhouette, the curve of her neck, the way her hips shifted as she walked. And then it hit me. I wanted her. Wanted her in a way I'd never wanted anyone before. I never imagined I'd feel this way about my dad's girlfriend. I never imagined being drawn to someone like this, and I certainly never imagined what was about to happen next. I knew one thing for sure, this was only the beginning. The house was quiet again, but this time it felt different, heavier, charged. I couldn't stop replaying the way she had looked at me yesterday, the way her fingers lingered just slightly too long on my arm. Every thought seemed to circle around her. I was dizzy with curiosity and an undeniable pull I couldn't explain. She appeared in the living room holding 2 mugs of tea. Her eyes found mine, and the faint smile tugged at something deep inside me. "You seem tense," she said softly, settling beside me on the sofa. Her knee brushed mine, and I froze. That contact was electric, making my chest tighten in a way that left me breathless. "I'm fine," I whispered, but my voice betrayed me. My pulse was racing. She tilted her head, studying me. "Are you?" she asked, voice low, teasing. "You've been thinking about me, haven't you?" Heat flushed through me. How could she know? Did she always see this in people, or was it just me? Was it just the way I felt about her? I looked down, trying to hide the blush creeping up my neck, but she reached out and lifted my chin gently, forcing me to meet her gaze. "I know," she murmured, almost like a confession. "I feel it too." I swallowed hard, my heart hammering. That single sentence was like a spark igniting a fire I couldn't control. She leaned a little closer, and suddenly the air between us was thick with something dangerous, something I had no idea how to resist. Her hand brushed against mine again, this time lingering deliberately. My fingers trembled under hers. I started, but the words died on my lips. The truth was, I wanted this, wanted her. I had never felt desire like this for a woman before, and the fact that it was forbidden only made it sharper, more intoxicating. "You don't have to fight it," she whispered, her breath warm against my ear. "I've never done this before either. But with you, I want to." That confession hit me like lightning. My chest tightened, my stomach fluttered, and I couldn't think of anything except her. Her lips were inches from mine now, and the world outside the room ceased to exist. I knew this was wrong, but my body betrayed me, leaning forward, almost instinctively, into the warmth she radiated. Her lips brushed mine, just a soft, tentative touch at first, testing, exploring. My eyes fluttered closed, and I felt the heat of her body against mine. The shock of the moment made my heart race even faster. I'd never imagined I would be kissed like this by her, by a woman, my dad's girlfriend, and yet it felt like something I had been waiting for my entire life, even if I didn't know it. She pulled back slightly, her eyes searching mine, as if asking permission without words. I nodded, unable to speak, and she smiled softly. Then she kissed me again, deeper this time, more insistently. Her hands moved to the sides of my face, holding me gently but firmly. My hands found their way to her waist, feeling the curve of her hips beneath her clothes, and I gasped softly at the contact. I couldn't believe this was happening. Everything inside me, every rule, every instinct, was screaming that this was forbidden, and yet I couldn't stop. Every touch, every brush of skin against skin felt inevitable. It was like she had unlocked a part of me I didn't know existed. The kiss broke briefly, and we both leaned back, breathless. She rested her forehead against mine, her hair brushing my cheek. "You're incredible," she whispered, voice husky. "I've never wanted anyone like this before, and I've never felt this way." I shivered, unable to respond. It wasn't just the words. It was the truth in them. She was straight, I thought. And yet for me, she had let go of everything she thought she knew. I was intoxicating to her, as much as she was to me. We sat there, tangled together on the sofa, hearts pounding, realizing we had crossed a line we couldn't undo. The thrill of the forbidden was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. My mind screamed, "This is your dad's girlfriend. This shouldn't happen." But my body didn't care. Time slipped by unnoticed as we explored the delicate, dangerous closeness between us. Every brush of her hand, every whispered word made the room hotter, the tension unbearable. And even as guilt threatened to surface, a part of me didn't want to stop. I had never felt desire like this, and the way she made me feel was addictive. Finally, she pulled back slightly, her lips just brushing mine one last time. "I shouldn't," she murmured again, but there was a softness, almost longing in her eyes. "But I can't stop thinking about this." I nodded, breathless. "Neither can I." As she stood and moved toward the kitchen, I sank back into the sofa, trembling. My thoughts were a whirlwind of guilt, excitement, and craving. I had never felt this alive, this dangerous, this seen. And I knew, whatever this was between us, it wasn't over. I never imagined my dad's girlfriend could feel like this for me, and I couldn't shake the thought that what we had started tonight was only the beginning. The evening had wrapped the house in a soft, golden haze, the quiet only broken by the faint hum of the air conditioner. I could feel the tension coiling in my chest even before she entered the living room. The air seemed electric, every sound amplified, every glance sharper. She walked in slowly, holding a glass of wine, her gaze finding me immediately. That same look, knowing, teasing, intimate, made my stomach twist in anticipation. "Are you sure you're okay?" she asked softly, settling beside me on the sofa. Her leg brushed against mine deliberately this time, sending a spark shooting straight through me. My breath hitched. I nodded mutely, though inside my heart was hammering with a wild, intoxicating mix of excitement and guilt. "I can feel it," she murmured, her fingers brushing against my hand. "I've wanted this, wanted you, since the moment we were left alone." Her words, low and soft, made my skin prickle. I couldn't speak, couldn't move. My body reacted faster than my brain could process. The forbidden thrill of it all, her being my dad's girlfriend, the risk, the taboo, was almost unbearable. She leaned closer, our lips almost touching. I could feel the warmth of her body, the subtle fragrance she wore, the soft weight of her hand on my thigh, and then, slowly, deliberately, she kissed me. It wasn't a soft peck or a hesitant brush. It was a kiss that claimed me, demanding attention, forcing my senses into overdrive. My hands instinctively found her waist, pulling her closer as my lips moved with hers. Every nerve in my body was alive, tingling, burning, trembling with the forbidden ecstasy of it all. She deepened the kiss, her tongue slipping against mine in a careful, teasing exploration. My knees nearly gave out, my back pressing against the sofa as the sensations overwhelmed me. I had never felt desire like this, not for a man, not for anyone, but her. She awakened something in me that I didn't know existed. Every brush of her fingers over my skin, every soft gasp, every lingering touch made me feel electrified and insatiably hungry. She pulled back slightly, her lips brushing against mine as she whispered, "You feel amazing." The words sent shivers down my spine. I could feel her hand tracing the curve of my hip, moving upward cautiously, igniting fires across my body. I shivered, moaning softly as she pressed closer, and I felt my resistance melting. I had never imagined being touched like this, every sensation new, thrilling, dangerous. Her fingers tangled in my hair, her lips exploring every inch of my mouth, my jaw, my neck. I gasped as she trailed kisses down to my collarbone, leaving a trail of heat wherever she touched. The sofa beneath us seemed to vanish, the world narrowing to just her warmth, her intoxicating scent. "I've never done this before," she murmured against my skin, her voice thick with desire. "But with you, I can't stop." I trembled under her touch, every nerve screaming with need. My hands roamed over her body, memorizing the curve of her waist, the softness of her skin, the subtle strength in her frame. She responded in kind, pressing herself closer, her breaths coming in shallow, hungry pants. Every brush, every graze, every shared sigh intensified the forbidden pleasure coursing through me. Our clothes became an afterthought as the night deepened, each layer removed revealing more skin, more vulnerability, more undeniable desire. Her lips, her hands, her body against mine. It was intoxicating, consuming. I couldn't think about the rules, about my dad, about consequences. All I could think about was her and the overwhelming, unrelenting need to be closer, to be one with her in this secret, forbidden intimacy. Her fingers traced paths across my back, down my sides, and I moaned softly, biting my lip as my body shivered at the sensations. The heat between us was almost unbearable, every nerve ending alive, every touch amplified by the thrill of what we were doing. I had never felt so alive, so seen, so wanted, and yet, the forbidden nature of it made every sensation sharper, every sigh louder, every gasp more intoxicating. We collapsed together onto the sofa, tangled limbs and racing hearts, bodies pressing, lips searching. I could feel her pulse against mine, her warmth, her soft breath brushing my skin, her hands mapping every inch of me. Every kiss, every whisper, every touch was electric, drawing us deeper into a world that existed only for the two of us, a secret that was ours alone. And even as guilt tried to claw at the edges of my mind, I couldn't stop. I didn't want to. Every sensation, every sigh, every trembling touch confirmed that this was right, at least for now. She was hers, I was mine, but together we were something forbidden and exquisite. A secret burning between us that neither of us wanted to end. Finally, after what felt like hours suspended in that haze of heat and desire, we lay together, bodies still pressed, hearts racing, breaths mingling. Her head rested against my chest, fingers tangled in my hair, and I felt the weight of the secret between us settle like a heavy, thrilling blanket. "I never thought this would happen," she whispered softly, almost shyly, though her fingers still traced circles over my skin. "With me. And you. I've never wanted anyone like this before." I shivered, a soft laugh escaping me. "Neither have I." And in that quiet, intimate aftermath, I knew one thing for certain. This was no longer just a moment. This was the start of something dangerous, something forbidden, something that neither of us could walk away from. I never imagined my dad's girlfriend could feel this way about me, and I never imagined that once we started, there would be no turning back. The house was bustling that weekend, filled with relatives, decorations, and the low hum of wedding preparations. My dad was buzzing with excitement, completely unaware that the woman he was about to marry was someone I shared a secret with, a secret that burned hotter than any ceremony could contain. I stayed mostly quiet, helping with minor tasks, all the while watching her move through the house. She was radiant, confident, the perfect bride-to-be, and yet every glance she cast my way carried a hidden weight. A memory of our stolen nights, whispered words, and touches pressed beneath layers of clothing lingered in the space between us. No one knew. No one could know. And maybe that was what made it so intoxicating. Later that evening, as everyone else fussed with the last-minute arrangements, she pulled me aside quietly into the study. The door clicked softly behind us, and suddenly the world narrowed down to just the two of us again. "You're nervous," she murmured, her fingers brushing my arm lightly. The touch sent a shiver through me I couldn't suppress. I stammered, trying to articulate the whirlwind of guilt and desire I felt. "I don't want anyone to know." Her lips curved into a knowing smile. "Neither do I," she whispered. Her hand found mine, fingers intertwining as if we were stealing a secret from the world. "But that doesn't mean we can't enjoy this privately." I could feel the familiar ache between us return, that magnetic pull that had consumed me for days. The thrill of it being forbidden only made it sharper. She leaned closer, and our lips met in a slow, lingering kiss that spoke volumes. Years of restraint, longing, and desire compressed into one intimate moment. Every brush of her hand against my waist, every subtle press of her body into mine reignited the fire we'd kindled weeks ago. I couldn't help but press closer, my fingers tracing the curve of her back, memorizing the softness and strength beneath my touch. Every gasp, every whisper, every stolen motion reminded us both of the line we had crossed, and the dangerous, irresistible thrill of it. "You're incredible," she whispered, pulling back just enough to look into my eyes. "I've never felt like this before, with anyone. And yet, here we are." I swallowed hard, my pulse racing. "I know, I feel the same way. I can't stop thinking about you." She chuckled softly, pressing her forehead to mine. "Good. Because neither can I." We lingered in that secret space for a long while, hearts racing, minds spinning with what we had done and what we were about to continue doing. Even as the sounds of the wedding preparations floated through the walls, it felt like we were suspended in our own world, a private moment carved out from reality. By the time we separated, The air between us was thick with anticipation and unspoken promises. I knew the wedding would go on, my dad would be blissfully happy, and the world would remain oblivious, but beneath the surface our connection persisted, a secret fire that could never be extinguished. The ceremony was beautiful. My dad beamed, radiant with joy, completely unaware of the forbidden bond between his bride and his daughter, and yet I couldn't stop sneaking glances at her. At the curve of her smile, the warmth in her eyes, the subtle, knowing glances that no one else could see. After the reception, when the house had quieted and everyone had left, she found me again. The way she moved toward me, graceful and intimate, made my chest tighten. The stolen moments, the whispers, the touches that no one else could witness, they were ours. "I can't stop thinking about you," she said softly, fingers brushing my hair from my face. "Not even with him. Not even with everyone else around." "Neither can I breathed, leaning into her warmth. The forbidden thrill, the tension, the undeniable desire. We both knew it would continue, and it would. Even as my dad slept peacefully upstairs, happy with his new wife, we existed in our own secret world. A hidden connection, untouchable by anyone else, consuming and intoxicating. I had never imagined that the woman my dad loved, the bride of his dreams, could also be mine in ways no one else would ever know, and yet, every touch, every glance, every moment confirmed it. We stayed there for hours, holding each other, whispering, laughing quietly, reveling in our stolen intimacy. The world outside didn't exist. The wedding, the family, the rules, they all faded away, leaving just us. And as I finally slipped into bed that night, my mind racing with excitement and guilt, I realized one thing with perfect clarity. It wasn't over. It couldn't be over. She was his wife. She was mine. And our secret, dangerous, intoxicating connection would continue, hidden in plain sight, burning hotter than anyone could ever imagine. I never thought being alone with her could change everything. But now I knew. It had only just begun. I crossed a line I shouldn't have. Felt things I wasn't supposed to feel. Every touch, every stolen glance haunts me and tempts me even now. We can't go back, and yet, I can't stop thinking about her. What are we now? Are we just a secret, or something more? Tell me, what would you do if you were in my place?